All right. Hey, Ace, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing great. As we were talking about before we got on, and we got the name right, that you did steal that hat from Pharrell Williams, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
It was a gift from Pharrell when I stood in for him on The Voice. Just kidding. I did stand in for him on The Voice, though, a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, so you're also a musician?
What's the word when you dabble in it, but you're not really, you know, for real?
Well, what do you mean for real? Like you don't have any records out or?
I have a couple of records out. I co-produced or I did the keyboards back in 1994 for New Kids on the Block on a song on a remix with Greg Nice and Smooth B called Dirty Dog. And I produced three songs for a group in 95, a group called Inner City. I did Share My Life, but both of those groups broke up right after I did it. So, I played around in that field for about 20 years, no real, records coming out. So dabbled in the field. It was a hobby that I enjoyed passionately.
Well, I think that's more than dabbling. If you were doing it for 20 years, whether you became hugely successful or not is irrelevant. Just the fact that you were doing it, I think
Yeah, I guess.
I think that counts. So yes, I'll call you a musician. I think
I,
so.
I have this philosophy, this ideology that that in order to be a musician, an actor, any of those things, you have to have a background and have studied it, or even if you haven't studied it in a school, you have to have a certain amount of polished work ethic towards getting to that level. For me, it was always kind of like play by ear, that kind of thing. So whenever I get around musicians, I've done back in the days, I've done a lot of different jam sessions where I played the bass. I was playing the bass while they're playing like doo, 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 doo. I was kind of doing it with the thumb a little bit.
Okay.
I never really felt like to their level as a musician to call myself a musician. When I've done different things with actors, I never felt that I had the kind of groundwork that they had in acting, the theater background. Writing is the only thing that I feel like I've done the background, all of the work, put all of the ethics in it, and wrote over a million words to really feel like I can call myself an actor. I'm always like a student when it comes to if you say I'm a writer, if you say I'm a singer, if you say I'm a songwriter or a musician. So you, Sir Douglas, I just listened to a lot of your songs, a few of your songs. You're a musician.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But no, I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. I think that anybody who does it and who can do it fairly well and who's persistent doing it, there may be a break in the terminology if you say you're a working musician.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm not a working musician, not anymore, and I work in the studio. The studio work I do is on my own, but yeah, I think we can call ourselves musicians, certainly. And thank you for listening to my music. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, so you're here to talk about your book. Is it book or books? How many you got?
Plural. Let's. I like to stick with the plural. So yeah, we'll talk about the book that I won the Bram Stoker Award, Oware Mosaic. Came out in 2019, won in 2020, and I have a new one coming out in September called Lipstick Asylum.
Nice title. That sounds
Thank
like a
you.
that sounds like a great title for a song too. I
I
think.
love it. You know what?
Yeah.
I think it is the title for a song. When I was looking up to see if my publisher had put any social networking stuff out about Lipstick Asylum, it kept coming up. A song kept coming up. It might have, I don't know, if the song is titled Lipstick Asylum, but it has those words in the title.
I'll have to check that out. Okay, so tell us about Lipstick Asylum. What's the book about?
Yeah, it's about three teenagers who raise the dead for a living, and they're invited on as the necrotainment for a zombie cruise, and
Well, this sounds
they
fun.
get in a whole lot of trouble when one of the members, Coleman, who's the protagonist, when she dies and returns, being able to speak to the dead. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of adventure, and a little bit of martial arts action in it. So I think if you like, stuff like, you know, if you like anything like Anita Blake, that series by the fabulous Laura K. Hamilton, you'll love this book.
So where'd this story come from?
Believe it or not, it started out about, I wanted to do a story originally about a woman who had breast cancer and got through breast cancer. How I became a zombie slashing martial artist on a zombie cruise. That's how it evolved. I don't know, but it started out with an idea of having a woman that get through breast cancer and surviving through that. So a creative mind can take you into so many different directions.
Well, that's true, but that's a stretch, though.
I would say.
That is
Yeah,
a
but that's how it
stretch.
started out. Yeah.
So this thing started out as a woman with breast cancer and morphed into zombies?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It started out as a woman, and then she morphed into an 18-year-old. So yeah, go figure.
So how long did it take you to write this book? When you started at the breast cancer woman, how long did it
Yeah.
take till you got to where it is now?
I'd say it took me about 2 years. It took about 2 years.
Well, that's
Took
not
two
too
years.
bad.
It tells you how much, you know, as writers, we start off with one idea, and we basically say, we spend hours and hours and hours on an idea, and then we say, I don't like this, and we change it. I mean, that's pretty much what happened.
Well, yeah, that's true. Although, as radically as this book changed, I'm not sure that I would even consider it the same book, but,
Not at all.
you
Matter
know.
of fact, even the Oware Mosaic, not the same book I started out with. Completely different. Yeah.
Tell us about that one. That was the book before this one, right?
Yeah. Oware Mosaic, again, very abstract way how I came about it. I grew up loving a TV show starring Jack Klugman called Quincy M.E.
Oh, I
for
remember that.
Medical
Yeah.
Examiner. Do you know it?
Oh, sure. I remember it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would even let the theme song play. Dun, 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 dun. I love the show
Right.
so much. No matter what, if I'm flipping through channels and I see it on, I will stop whatever I'm doing and watch it. So I love that show, and I always wanted to do a medical procedural with a character as passionate about the truth as Quincy was. And so I wanted to do that, but I have years of experience as a middle school teacher in New York and in Los Angeles. And so I can't get writing stories that involve the youth out of my system. Like, no matter where I start, the youth kind of eases into the story. And so I figured, what if I write a story of a young girl that was kind of like a Quincy? And so I started writing the story. And after maybe the second or third time I saw Sherlock Holmes, the black and white version of Nigel Bruce, Nigel Bruce, yeah, Sherlock Holmes, the Hound of Baskerville,
Oh, yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
just the whole way that the plot is set up and the mystery, and it just all came together, and I wrote Oware Mosaic.
What else do you do? I'm looking at your bio. You're a teacher?
So I started in the educational field, or teaching education, 1993, and I quit in 2006 ish. For a couple of more years, I did I worked in colleges as a admissions counselor, but I quit teaching in 2006 to pursue writing full time, or to pursue learning how to write full time, because I still had always had a day job. And so I taught for 13 years. I was a director of education in Hempstead for a while. I was an associate director for the Help Our Students Succeed, as well as teaching. And in Queens for a few years, I taught English there, and I was the director, an after-school director for the ACE program. Ironically, the Alternate Centers of Education for After School Suspension Program. I was the director there. And then I went over to, when I moved to Los Angeles, I became the associate director of education for the Civil Learning Center in Northridge, right off of Tampa. And so that was about give or take 13 years.
I know this is an off the wall question, but if there was one thing you could fix about our American educational system, what would it be?
I think the one thing I would fix is I want to put it all into one sentence. I would level the playing ground, and what I mean by that is I would make it so that no matter what background you come from or neighborhood you live in, that you are exposed to the same level or expertise of teachers,
That's
because there
good.
is a
Yeah.
difference. There's a big difference.
Yeah. I've always thought that we should have in this country some kind of a national university, like the University of
Mm.
America, that everybody who wants to go can go. Maybe not free, but
Not
certainly
free. Why
government
not
supported.
free?
Well, it could be free, but it concerns me about free is when stuff is free, people don't take it as seriously as when they have to pay for it.
Yeah, very true.
Now, I'm not saying it
Absolutely.
should cost a fortune, but maybe not free. But that isn't really the point. But the point
Yeah.
is that anybody could go, and the curriculum and the degree that you receive is standard. In other words, now the way it's set up, if you go to Harvard, if you've got enough money and enough, whatever, mojo to get in there, a degree from Harvard has a lot more weight than a degree from the University of Bug Tussle. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's really not fair because that just comes down to the more money you have, the more connections you have. All right. So I think everybody should start. You talked about a level playing field. I think we should at least start with everybody can get a bachelor's degree that essentially is the same.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to go higher than that, then okay, that's
Yeah.
up to you. But I've always
That.
felt that that was very inequitable the way it's set up in our system now.
Yeah, it is, and to a degree, I'm always a contrarian. To a degree, to a certain point, I agree with you on the college level, but I definitely think it would help America as a whole, our future, if all children were exposed to a higher level of education from grade school on. Not when I say higher level, I mean the same application that you would get, or the same approach that you would get in a private school, or one of those, some of those schools that are what do you call it? I can't think what you call it,
Uh,
but a
prepa-
higher school,
Preparatory schools?
preparatory schools. Thank you. If every student was allowed that opportunity to have that type of education, I think this entire nation would be better off. The future would be better off. And then when you get to college, let it be competitive. I think I don't mind different colleges being competitive as far as education, cost, tuition, knowledge base. I think it should. I don't mind that being competitive in the different levels, but at least give our kids growing up the same opportunities as far as knowledge and exposure to knowledge. I used to tell my students, exposure plus experience equals appreciation. And first they have to get exposed to it, and depending on their experience, if it's a great experience, they're able to appreciate it. There are so many different things in a lot of schools, even some of the schools that I worked in when I first started, that they just weren't privy to. And so they weren't even able to appreciate, a certain level of experiences because they didn't have it. My niece put her kids in a school that was so advanced that now they are just absolutely brilliant. So, kudos to her, and she started them off. As soon as they started preschool, they were in, just a very excellent surrounding, very excellent educational environment. And now they're brilliant. And I think, all children should have that advantage. or opportunity.
Ace, we got to wrap this up. We are out of time. Do you have a website that you want to give
Talk
out?
about
Yeah,
education. I love it.
it goes
Yeah.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on 3 different social networking sites that you can find me. I'm on Facebook as Ace Antonio Hall. You can go to Instagram and find me as my name the letter N, Zondi. That's my middle name, Nzandi, and in parentheses, Ace Antonio. Or you can go to Twitter and find me as at Nzondi and the number 3, at Nzandi3. And if you follow me on Instagram, I got some really cool giveaways that I'm going to start doing for the book that's coming out September 10th, Lipstick Asylum, Where the Dead Rise, and it's going to be published by Omnium Gatherum.
All right, great. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you. Nice talking.